Board meeting. We have already called the meeting to order and conducted a non-public session under RSA 91-A3, paragraph B and paragraph C. We are now back in public session and we would like to go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any review and revision of the agenda?
The only item is that under new business, when it first went out, it had the land discussion, but we moved that to non-public because there's some legal advice that we should discuss in non-public.
The only other item I just wanted to mention was a few months ago we had talked about food service coming back in to present the plan on the financials and where they're thinking the now fiscal year 24 will land. I thought we had talked about that in July. I just want to follow up on where that is and when we can get that back on the agenda.
So we have Lauren coming to the next one in August.
In August.
Yeah.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
We want to make sure that we're still waiting on some revenue to come in. We believe we know the amount of it type of thing, but we want to wait for everything to come in and then be able to predict what the new rates will go for full 180 days as
Okay.
well. So, yep, so she's coming to the next one.
Thank you.
All right, for the consent agenda, committee reports are on there. Is there any committee report or any committee that any board member would like to move to old business?
Not on old business, but just for transparency and for follow-up, the budget committee did meet on June 22nd. There were 4 questions that were submitted by the budget committee. Those were sent over to the SAU, and I believe we're still waiting on responses on all 4 questions.
When is the next budget committee meeting?
They are not meeting until the end of August at this point. They don't meet in July.
Okay.
I also wanted just to mention that we had a facilities improvement committee meeting at 3:30 today, so I've updated that committee report.
Perfect.
But under Dr. Jetty's report, there is some discussion of the next steps since the school board voted 500 to pursue the new building at the new land.
Okay.
So we'll have that discussion and information there.
Okay. All right, hearing nothing else, we will move forward with everyone taking a look at the committee reports with no need to go into further discussion in old business. Next is a summary of non-public actions from June 21st, 2023. Ms. Ames made a motion to approve the June 7th, 2023 non-public session 1 minutes. Mr. Cutter seconded the motion and the motion passed 5-0. Ms. Ames made a motion to approve the June 7th, 2023 non-public session 2 minutes. Mr. Cutter seconded the motion and the motion passed 5-0. Ms. Harrison motioned to approve the nomination of Kara Carney as GMS nurse. Ms. Ames seconded the motion and the motion passed 5-0. Mr. Cutter motioned to approve the nomination of Alexa Carey as ELL teacher. Ms. Ames seconded the motion and the motion passed 5-0. Mr. Plansky made a motion to pay Mr. Perez's separation payment from the FY 2023 fund balance. Mr. Cutter seconded the motion and the motion passed 5-0. We do not have a student representative here with us tonight. We do not have any presentations and recognitions tonight. So we will open it up for community comment on the agenda items. Seeing no one here to provide community comment, we will close community comment on agenda items. For correspondence, Vice Chair Liz McDonald is not here with us tonight, and she typically does correspondence, so we will hold off on that until our August meeting. That moves us into general business, superintendent's report.
You are an hour ahead of schedule.
We're ahead of schedule.
That's gotta be a first.
Let's not blow it, people, okay?
So just wanted to give the board a quick update. So June is sort of the end of the year conferences for both those of us who work at the district level and for our principals. So just so the board's aware, Mary and I were at the NHSAA conference. That was a 3-day conference up north, excellent sessions, and a lot of the events were, it was a mix of national people that they brought in, but also local districts sharing some of the things that they were doing. So Mary and I participated in that. At the same time, I know our principals attended the Principals Association Conference, which was over in Portsmouth, and actually Jen and Dan attended that. So they also reported that they had an outstanding conference, and Dan presented at that, actually. He had some parents who attended with him and did a presentation on stuff going on at GMS. I can't tell you the specifics because I didn't attend it. And Jake was awarded an opportunity to go to really one of the better conferences. It's called the Model Schools Conference. And so basically schools across the United States get selected as a model school because they have outstanding programs and things that they are sharing. And then they have all the schools attend this conference and present to attendees what's going on in their schools and what makes them a model school and what practices. So Jake and Noah won a trip. It didn't cost the district anything, but they were able to go to Orlando for that conference, all expenses paid. And I talked to Noah and Jake both. They came back pretty energized, and they spent a lot of time looking at advisory programs. So some of the things that the high school is trying to fine tune, they went out to learn from other schools that are doing it and doing it well, how they do it. So so the last week of June was, there weren't a lot of people around because we were out doing the PD that we typically do at the end of the year. Although I say typically, we haven't done it lately because of the pandemic. A lot of that stuff got shut down and we just didn't get back to it, but we committed to it this year.
Great.
Kindergarten enrollment. So Dan provided this spreadsheet, and I need to get the board some information here. So basically, the spreadsheet at the very top,
don't have
first of all, can you access it? No,
No.
you can't. So Dan shared it with me, and I need to make it so that anybody with the link can see.
Yeah, the policy isn't available either.
Really?
Yeah. It's odd because it's coming up as a spreadsheet. It's coming up as an Excel file. Which
Policy?
the policy wouldn't.
I'll check the policy in a second, because I don't know what I gave you then. You should, if you refresh now, yep, Tina's in. I can see people hopping in here. So the monthly enrollment totals, everything to the left of the purple bar on the top chart are last year's enrollment numbers, just so you can remember what we were looking at last year. And kindergarten had 69 students in it. And this year, Dan has 77 students who have enrolled. And if you look down below, you can see the number of registered kindergartners. And now I'm trying to figure out why that doesn't tie back, because that says 74.
Those
they
two
just
numbers are
flip-flopped.
inverted because the kindergarten says 74, but first grade says 77. But then on the upper chart, it says 77 and first grade is 74.
Okay, well, that makes me.
So I'm not sure which one belongs to which one, but
So Dan is saying that the number is 77 in kindergarten. I can verify that with him, but I think you're right. I think that it's just an inversion down below. So if you click on the policy, so let me go back and see what's going on with that link. It brings you to the same spreadsheet. Okay. Bear with me a minute. So we should be looking at policy IHB, which is the class size policy, and I pulled the link off of the edit link. You would think I would have linking down a
What's the
little bit
policy?
better.
AHB,
EHB?
I,
IHB.
class size policy.
All right, can you retry the policy link?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, again, my apology, I'm not sure what I copied in there. But this is the class size policy that was approved by the board back in 2021. And you'll notice that the number in kindergarten is, we strive to have 18 as our average, and we will not exceed 19. So 19 times 4 is 76, and we're at 77. So as soon as Dan got 77, he called up and said, I need a kindergarten teacher. And so he wanted to post it as anticipated. I said, let me have a conversation with the board before we do anything. You know, because there's some likelihood that this number could go down, right? Somebody may still move out of town. There's some likelihood it could go up. Kindergarten's been one of those numbers that we've been watching carefully over time. And it's also proven to be the hardest to predict because it just depends on how many children there are that year. So we do everything we can to promote early signups, but this year, we hit the number in July, so.
So what's the class size if we add a classroom?
77 divided by 5.
Yeah, I just took math off for the summer.
15.4.
0.4.
15.4.
Okay.
There you go.
2 classrooms with 15 and
Two,
a
6.
couple with 16,
Yeah.
something like that.
And so that's what he's seeking. Now, this is not budgeted. So we would have to do one of two things. We would have to find the money somewhere else, you know, paraprofessionals. If we're unable to hire paras again, there could be money in the budget to pay for this position. We also have the class size reserve fund, which we've never touched, but that is another option that we could choose to do down the road, or we could choose to do it right now and just,
So we would need
know
to
where we
hire
are.
another program para for that class, the 5th classroom.
that is correct.
And what about furniture and materials and things
We've
like
had
that?
5 kindergartens in the past, so Dan has all the material for it. So that's not a problem. But it's the
Are we
teacher and the
sure,
para.
are we sure there's 77? I mean, again, I'm looking at below and it says 74, so.
Yeah, I've asked Dan that question directly, and he's confident there are 77.
We use the term striving for averages of where one kid over, so one class is gonna have 20, or have 19.
No.
No, all of them will have 19 and one would have 20.
That's
So-
right. Or 5 teachers and at a class ratio of 15 to 16.
But we purposely talked about the language of the not to exceed. I swear we've reviewed this policy
Every year.
annually since
Yeah.
I've been on the board. Because it is so difficult to teach a large kindergarten class that we really do try to keep the number down for that group. And I have to imagine, based off of the data that we've been hearing and the information we've been hearing from teachers, which is that the kindergarten class that is coming in are a very different group of students than kindergarten classes in the past because of the pandemic. They didn't have that preschool experience. They may have been home for the last few years. And so the kids that are coming in have a lot more learning to do in terms of just typical classroom socialization issues.
So here's my concern,
Yep.
right? We're 45 days out from the start of school. What's the probability that we can even hire the staff member to fill this position? And I do think that you're right, there is likely continued fluctuation in this number. So my thought is wait and see until August 2nd at our next board meeting, right? And make the call then, right? Let's see what the fluctuation is, essentially a month before start. And see what we need to make.
I see the point, and, you know, there is fluctuation. I would prefer to post it as anticipated and at least get the applications, because there will be I feel like elementary teaching is not as hard to find as something like a high school science or high school math. It's not as, you know, there are.
Nuanced.
Right, it's not as nuanced, so I think we'll find someone. I don't think we'll have a hard time filling that position.
But we
Whereas
might in August if we don't post
Exactly.
until 3 weeks before school starts.
I would hate to
2nd.
post in advance, right, and get somebody's hopes up for a job that we may not need.
And have them miss on an opportunity.
And have them miss an opportunity
Right.
somewhere else. Like, I don't think
That's
that's
what
fair either.
anticipated means, right?
Right.
I mean, you're applying, understanding that that's the dice you're rolling.
I don't know, I don't like that.
I mean, there was one time we expanded to a 5th first grade classroom the week before school opened, and that was a nightmare.
We
was
we did it the
chaos.
morning of
The morning of
opening,
yeah.
the opening ceremony for teachers.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
had an emergency meeting at, I don't
Takes a
know, remember,
lot of
7
time.
AM to do
Yeah.
that hire.
Yeah,
If we wait till August 2nd and we post at that point, it'll be a tight
Close.
turnaround to get somebody on board.
Right.
The negative to anticipate it is some people won't apply because they feel like it's not real.
Yeah.
They'll apply for definites and not anticipated, so that's another factor.
Yeah.
I think we need to do this. I'm trying to pull up quickly, and I don't know, Mike, if you have access to it, the enrollment numbers that we looked at last time. You have them by snapshot, but if I remember, we were right up against, I think we were at 74, 75 even a month ago. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not unheard, it's not surprising to me that we've crossed the number.
If what we think, I'm texting with Dan now, and
Yeah.
he's not understanding what I'm saying, but if we think the first grade number down below is actually the kindergarten number, then it was 75 on June 15th.
Yeah.
That's what was on that other sheet.
Right.
He then, on July 1st, picked up 2 that put him to 77,
Okay.
and that's when I got the call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
feel
that
like
was
we've
on
been
July.
watching this
So
number.
the 69 is not accurate either?
The 69 was last year's kindergarten. So the 69 has turned into 74 first graders.
Right, so the 69, as of the end of the school year in June, we had 69 kids.
In
In kindergarten.
kindergarten, who next year will be
Be
the
in first grade.
77, I'm sorry, will be the 74 first graders.
Yes.
So it's those 69 plus another 5 who have joined us from private kindergartens or whatever.
Going into first.
Right.
It's those 69 plus another 8.
No.
No.
No, you gotta
That's
go down a
last year.
grade. It's 69 kindergartners who become 74 first graders. 'Cause you
Got
add
that.
one. So the 77 kindergartners is a new number. That's
Yeah,
the,
yeah, okay, got
they
it.
haven't, well, we had
31
31 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on May 3rd, we received a spreadsheet that Joyce made that compared kindergarten enrollment for past years and where they were at that close comparison date, so April 27th to May 2nd. We were at 75 kindergarten registration as of May 2nd. We have been right up against it and watching it, but we weren't over it, so we didn't do anything with it. I can tell you for those registrations, they went up last year from 61 to 66, they went from 80 to 83, they went from 62 to 66, they went from 62 to 76, and then 66 to 80. So it seems like the number has only gone up from that 75.
Right, we haven't ever lost kindergarten.
We haven't lost them. It doesn't mean we won't, and it doesn't mean you're not wrong that we might.
I mean, it's a shot in the dark, right? You don't
Right.
know either way.
I feel like it was a mess trying to hire a 5th teacher weeks before school when students had already been told who their teacher was. They were already assigned. We had to back that out. We had to say, okay, you no longer have Miss So-and-so. Now you have Miss So-and-so because we had this new teacher. Parents were confused. I think the sooner we can deal with this, the less confusion we're gonna call. And if we have to say anticipated and not offer it, then that's what we have to do.
I think it's kind of
That's my opinion.
the safer route to go. To put it, to
When do we have
include
to
the
make a decision
anticipated.
now on the hire?
We don't meet again until August. Oh, for the hiring piece of it?
Yeah, so we do it anticipated.
Right.
Would need to, if we get applications in intervening,
Presumably, it would be before us at our non-public on August 2nd.
so we would have updated numbers at that point, and that would help us make a
Right.
decision.
And then what happens if, I mean, it's a what if, right? What
Yeah.
happens if over the course of the month,
More come in.
or
Well,
we have students leave?
Yeah.
Then we've hired a teacher for no reason.
We
No,
haven't,
no.
though. As of August 2nd, we can,
Right, but then we still have a month before school starts, really.
A couple of weeks before the teachers start.
yeah.
New teachers start on the 21st.
So 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna make a motion to go ahead and post a job, I don't know, what am I calling it? A job,
Post anticipated opening in kindergarten.
correct, in kindergarten, to hire a 5th teacher for the 2023-2024 school year, with a final decision to be made at our August 2nd meeting.
I'll second.
Any other questions or comments?
My view is to wait and see until August 2nd.
All those in favor of the motion, because I don't feel like repeating it, it was long, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? Passes 3-1-0.
And then we can make a decision on.
On August 2nd.
On August 2nd and potentially fund it from, do we need to have a public hearing to use those funds?
So to use those funds, you're gonna have to do a public hearing, right? Because it's a withdrawal from a reserve fund.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the board's gotta think about whether you wanna do that right out of the gate, or whether you wanna wait to see where you land, later in the year. So, you know, on fund balance, we know that we've had, a significant number of para positions that we couldn't fill. That probably will continue based on all the conversations I had with people at the conferences. This is
Not a unique problem.
across the board. So that's just something to think about. The other is, at some point, we've got to settle out on where we are with hires that we've made, and there could be attrition savings there that are not reflected in the budget. So, you know, the board would have some flexibility to decide how to proceed on it.
All right, moving on to continuing the superintendent report, draft budget and timeline, GMS?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have Tina help me with this, but first of all, can you all get in the link?
I can, but I had access
Yes.
previously.
Perfect. So, in facilities, we talked about this, and Tina, do you want to present more or less what we're
Sure.
looking at and what the vote was?
So when we met today, after the board voted unanimously to go ahead and pursue, you know, to begin the strategizing and planning for the new elementary school project for a bond vote on March 12th, 2024. Doug and Mike have spent some time reviewing this with Barker Architects and Windy Hill and putting together kind of a timeline of events that need, you know, deadlines and events that need to occur before we get to March 12th, and also a list of estimated costs to get us to the March bond vote. So on the first tab, it's the budget. It's, you know, the items that are budgeted, the expenses that we expect to incur between now and the March vote. The second tab is the timeline. So if we start with the March vote on March 12th and we backtrack, we just kind of made a list of what deadlines and presentations and things we need to engage in. And the third tab is what happens, you know, thinking optimistically, if the bond vote passes, what the following steps would be. So we kind of focused on the budget and the timeline to the bond. So these estimated costs were something that the committee reviewed today. Having Kyle Barker kind of give us guidance based on recent projects that he's had and projects that he's, you know, undertaking right now, what the going rate and what he would expect those estimated costs to be. So this is kind of just a ballpark estimate for what needs to happen and how much it could cost. Which would be a total of $150,000 and which we have in the capital improvement expendable trust fund for that purpose.
Do we need to vote on this or anything? This is more for our knowledge.
So here's where I think, so the second agenda item was actually the RFQs for
Oh, yeah,
a civil
sorry.
engineer firm to come in and to do work relative to the land. And if you look at the budget under tab 1, the most significant cost, more than half of the total budget, is the civil engineering work that needs to occur. So before we send out RFQs and start to meet with firms, there are 5 firms that we've identified that we want to direct solicit to work on this project and see what they put in. But we don't want to send that out if we're not committed to this timeline and committed to spending this money, because that is, that's the most costly part.
Yeah.
So we really, I think, are looking for a board vote. So the committee recommended that this timeline made sense, and it was intact with, or it represented what we've been talking about as a committee. But then we need really the board authorization to proceed ahead, because that 90,000 is significant.
When you send out an RFQ, you're not bound to hire anybody. I mean, I answer RFPs all the time. And
That's right.
It's
just
non-binding,
informational.
it's just informational.
Right, but
Right.
what I don't want to do is, with limited resources in our office, I don't want to spend the time preparing, sending, collecting, reviewing, interviewing, and selecting somebody to come forward, to have the board at that point say, we're going to hold off on it. So I'm looking for a commitment that,
Right.
yes, send those
Well, and
RFQs
what
out and
Kyle-
try to get a civil
And
engineer
what
on
Kyle
board.
was saying, when we present this information to the to Litchfield as this, this is our proposal and this is what we wanna do, and we need to have these things, we need to make sure that we have the information available from the surveying, the geotechnical, the environmental, the archaeological, I mean, we have to have, I feel like we can't sell it, we
No,
can't.
we need to do our due diligence
Right,
before it even
exactly.
goes to the, it
Yeah.
goes to community forum. We have to have our ducks in a row.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that. What, I guess my question is I don't know if 90,000 is accurate. I have no idea if it's gonna come in 150.
So,
Right, that's
I
my
don't know
concern is
that
what happens
either.
if the bids come in at
Yeah.
$150,000.
Right,
but Kyle, who does this for a living, said 90,000 feels about right.
yeah, we had
So-
actually kinda lowballed it, and Kyle was like, no, plus you need to do this, plus you need this, so he recommended 90 as a more reasonable estimate. And I think Dave Ely was on board with that too.
Yep.
It doesn't mean it's not gonna come in higher. I mean, I think that the whole industry is unpredictable, but you have two people working in the industry saying this seems about right, so.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is kind of the next step, right? The board made the decision to vote for and fully unanimously support a new elementary school on the land that the voters approved last year, right? And we have to, if we have every intention of going to the voters with a plan in March, we have to do our due diligence, so. And this includes the schematics and the actual design and layout, like, I'm expecting kind of like a blueprint.
Are you talking about the school or the
school.
school? So, if you look at the timelines of the bond,
Like, I know we all have that picture in our mind of what was visualized as a rough drawing of a school, right? That's what I have in my mind, but how real is that? Will we see a blueprint?
so you will see what are called schematics, right? So it will be, if you remember the two charts that we had at the voting, that'll be fine-tuned. But these are not construction documents.
Right.
Right? Just to be
Not gonna
clear,
have the engineering and the.
construction documents wouldn't come out until after the bond vote was successful. You don't want to spend that kind of money designing construction documents, but you will have all those schematics. This goes back to the question when people say, well, you have all the blueprints for the first proposed elementary school on the LMS site 20 years ago. And the answer is, no, those are schematics. They're just two-dimensional diagrams of what the school would look like, but they're not construction documents. You can't build off that.
Right.
So to be clear, they're schematics only.
Yeah, and, yeah, those would, the more detailed construction documents would follow the bond vote.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the 150,000 to be used as presented this evening.
I'll second that with the understanding that we will have to have a public hearing to withdraw those funds from the capital improvement trust.
Correct, and it's from the capital improvement, thank
Yeah.
you.
Any questions or comments?
My only other comment is, I see a rough number here, I'm not gonna share it publicly, I guess we can, but, it seems high for the old GMS price.
Sure.
So,
So, so actually, there's a ton of conversation we need to have about that, because what Kyle said is for real estate like that at 150 a square foot, that's what he would
Standard
predict.
calculation.
But what we're looking to do is hire a real estate professional to help us guide that through. To that end, there was input from the committee that we really have to engage the community about what their vision is for that school.
Yes.
And for that site. So, one thing is possibly selling it off. But there could be a rallying point in town to say, let's turn that into a community center. Let's figure out how to use the gym as a rec facility. Let's figure out, are there parts of the building that aren't useful and parts that we can renovate on a different front. So, to that end, the other thing to talk about
Yeah.
is
The
the community
committee,
forum.
voted to recommend to the school board that we use the September 27th community forum that we had scheduled as a kind of a launch point, to share the drawings that we have, to give the information that we have at that point in time, and to engage in communication about what the next steps are, including what, you know, a discussion about what do we do with the current site. Dan Mitchell thought we should have that at GMS, so that he could also offer, if people wanna come and attend the forum and do a walkthrough of the school and see what we're talking about. So that was the other recommendation that
Yep.
we had for the board, to make that a kind of, like I said, the kickoff for,
Yeah, I think it's great.
For
Let
information.
school get situated here for a few weeks, and let's have that community forum, and let's get right into it, because we're gonna need as much time as possible to be able to
Exactly.
answer community questions.
yep.
Do we ever find the document where the land was deeded to the school?
I think you had.
For
that,
GMS?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
We have the deeds in our office. We have a legal opinion from an attorney 25 years ago. This goes back to the first, we want to build a new elementary school.
because we
And
had a
the-
buyer at that point.
There was a buyer for it, and questions were raised at the time about who exactly owned the land. And based on the review by the attorneys, the school district owns the land outright. There are no covenants or restrictions in there about future use of it. And so it's the school district's land to determine what to do with it.
can you send me a copy of that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I think to the board, please.
Yep.
Right, so there is a motion and a second. My only question is, do we want any type of motion to approve the timeline that you've talked about, or is it more approving the dollar amount?
It's just the dollar amount, the timeline is,
Yeah, the timeline, I think, is subject, I mean, besides the deadlines for the, you know, to have the warrant articles, and, I mean, that's all set in
Okay.
stone already.
All right, so I mean, this is more just giving you the green light to go ahead and put the financials
get the
together.
RFQ out.
Yeah, okay,
A reminder on the timeline that BPS is Bonner, Page, and Stone, which are the general contractors.
Bonnet, isn't it
Bonnet.
Bonnet?
Bonnet?
Bonnet.
Okay.
And you'll report back on what we actually spend out of these.
Oh, yeah, this will be.
This will be part of our financial reports, I'm sure.
Yeah.
all right, all those in favor of, Andrew's motion? I think it was spending $150,000 approximately, which is an estimated cost, in preparation for, the GMS project, with the understanding that there would need to be a public hearing, to utilize those funds, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 400.
Now, just continuing the conversation for a moment, the timeline after vote is interesting to me.
Yeah,
I'm shocked, actually, at how long it takes.
me too. I said that today in our facilities meeting. It was disappointing not to see an opening of
Right, so for,
August 25.
yeah, so for, well,
Wow.
yeah, I don't know that would be for August of 25, but maybe some point in between,
Right.
right?
Right.
So what we're looking
Halfway
at,
through the school
what
year
we're
or
looking at here for transparency is a spreadsheet that has rough estimates of dates for should the voters support through a supermajority vote of 60% or more in March of 2024, a new elementary school, the process and the estimated dates thereafter, between the bond, the site permits, the construction documents, the permitting and the bidding, and then the construction starts. So we're looking at, according to this, a year after the March of 2024 vote to bring us to March of 2025 before we actually have shovels on the ground and construction to begin.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too. So what was brought up was the permitting process can take, I think you said 6 to 9 months. So it's another, what was it, 6 to 9 months for the schematics and all of the construction documents to be done. And then to pull all the permits and get the environmental, you know, all of the EPA stuff and everything is another 6 to 9 months.
And none of that can happen in advance.
It can if we
If we
Wanna
fund
pay
it.
for it.
if you want to pay for it. So, you know, they could have construction documents done for the bond vote, but you're looking at a lot of money to get that produced.
I don't think
And
we have the money to do that.
there's a cash
So-
flow question.
Right.
Yeah, so we have 250,000, we expect to have 250,000, we have 125,000 in the capital improvement expendable trust fund now, with 125,000 going in with this year's fund balance, 250,000. So this is calling for 150,000 of that to be used. I don't believe they can get to full blueprints with another 100,000, that's gonna be more than that.
So we need the bond to proceed at that point.
That's gonna drive the cost, it's gonna go certainly.
Why is that so expensive to do? I just don't understand.
What's so expensive?
The construction documents.
Well, you're talking about multiple construction sets of
For every system in the building.
mechanical, lighting, electrical. I mean, when you add
Guides
all
also.
those components in, I mean, you're
I'm not
talking,
close to that process. It's just, that's the sticker shock for me.
it's a stack of paper like this,
Yeah.
because you've got all these different sets that go along with it. Everything relative to the plumbing has its own set. You know, and they have to coordinate all that to make sure, you know, the plumbing pipes aren't crossing electrical pipes and so forth. It's really, it's elaborate.
Okay.
And that's done by Barker and Associates, not by Bonnet Page and Stone,
That is correct.
right?
Well, I agree, we need to wait for that type of investment to see where we land with a vote.
Well, and this goes back to, again, the question of the diagrams that we have for the school that never got approved. I mean, the town did not invest in construction documents because there wasn't the surety that it was gonna be passed, so
Yeah.
it wasn't done.
Yep. Okay.
Is it really gonna take 18 months, though, from when construction starts, so March to August?
I can see that.
You're
Yeah.
talking arriving at a piece of land that's virgin, it's never been touched, and they're gonna turn it into a school and a playground and
Driveway.
All that
road,
stuff?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm
It's-
just, it's
yeah.
18 months?
it's,
That, I mean, I'm with you, 18 months is a long time, and that's, I don't know that that's what Kyle said when he was here a few weeks ago, that it would be.
For some
done.
reason, I thought it was a year. I
Yeah,
don't,
I have like that same number in my head.
and again, if we decide it's
Which
not
is-
worth moving a school mid-year, March 25, when it's
Yeah.
done, and we're just gonna do it over the that's a whole other discussion,
Right.
but I guess I'm surprised to see 18 months for construction, that's all. But again, I'm not close to the field, and
Yeah.
what do I know?
Did that date come from Kyle, or was that kind of,
everything on the spreadsheet was
Yeah,
from
okay.
Kyle. Kyle typed that.
yeah, but that, I'm wondering if that's the assumption that we wanna start with the new school year? As opposed
We're
to,
talking 3 years out from now, basically.
yeah,
Before it opens. What does that do to the cost? We're gonna ask for X number of $1 million in March 2024, that at the end of the day is gonna be that plus something
Yeah.
significant. So how do we prepare for that?
Contingency.
That's what
A
we need to
30%
have
contingency?
Bonnet Page's own, that's their job as the construction manager. They should be making those predictions and know what that's gonna look like. They have a pulse of what's happening in the trades.
Okay.
All right, are we all set with superintendent's report?
I am.
Do you have the RFQ, are we doing that at all, to go over that?
well, we voted to move forward, I think,
The committee voted on it,
yeah.
and, yeah, so
We
I,
approved the RFQ, but I think now we have board permission to send them out.
based on the money,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And just so the board is aware, David Ely, who's our owner's rep, authored it. He writes these all the time. And now we just have to fill in some deadline dates and what, to make it work. So Doug will be getting that finalized and sent out Friday.
I think it's Friday or Monday, so is what he put up, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to business and operations. It's our first and only meeting of the month, so I don't know quite if we're gonna just do an update. But I'll turn it over to you, Doug.
All right, great. So we have the May invoice for LMS from North Branch. Just to let people know, there was a shutdown of the project, a brief shutdown this week. There was not enough communication from the construction management to the fire department in town. And with that, Chief Nickel didn't understand, didn't have enough information to understand, with the power being turned off, who was actually in the building. So without that information, he made a decision to shut down the construction on Monday afternoon, and was able to kind of say, yep, let's have a meeting 8 a.m. on Tuesday to talk this over. So we talked it over Tuesday at 8 a.m., gave them the information. North Branch was there, we were there. And at that point, it was 15, 20 minutes into the meeting that Chief Nickel opened the school back up. So it was not, didn't end up being an unsafe environment. It just, the communication wasn't there for the fire department. So we definitely understand why the reason for the shutdown happened. And we're definitely very happy that we were able to talk about it 8 AM the next morning, because I think it got shut down at like 3:30 in the afternoon on Monday.
Lose a day's work.
And then, people were back in there at like 8:30 on Tuesday. So,
We lost a couple hours of work on Tuesday morning, but
we do not believe that this will happen again. You know, I think typically, when there's lack of communication, then you get over communication. And we had fire presence at our meeting today as well, which is good. We have a weekly meeting, and, it was good to have them there for that meeting. And they're invited to each of our weekly meetings, and they get the field reports, and they've been helping make decisions as far as when welding has to happen, how to keep that safe as well. So we'll continue with more communication so that the chief and his people feel comfortable with the work that's going on there. So there is quite a bit of work. If you walked in there now, it's completely empty. The old cooler is out, all the equipment is out. They have cut the slab, they have the new plumbing and the new electrical in. I believe they're filling it back in with concrete tomorrow. They're working at the electrical room at the same time. The 800 amp breaker, which we were told at one point wasn't gonna come in until December, got here 3 weeks ago. So it's a massive main breaker. So they have.
That's for solar.
That is, well, it's for both. I mean, it ties in the solar as well. So, but, yep.
Okay.
So there's not as much work going on as last summer, which we all knew was gonna happen, because it's much more isolated. But there is quite a bit of work going on. And there's also some fixing of some of the work that occurred last summer that didn't get done to how it was spec'd out. So in a project this size, you have multiple eyes on it. So Ryan Lacey, who was the electrical engineer, he's been out, our commissioning agents.
he's the HVAC.
Yeah.
Not electrical.
So our commissioning people have been out, they have noticed things, and those things are now either being fixed or they're scheduled to be fixed. So that will be good. I mean, it's tough when you prolong something, but I think this will be a benefit of it, is that we already have people on site, and we have the summer, and so they can take care of making sure it's where it ended up being spec'd out last year. I don't know if there's
Are those repairs and fixes at added cost to us?
No, the added cost would be, instead of Ryan coming for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And everything going smoothly,
Oh.
if he's there for 6 hours, then we owe him that additional 4 hours.
Okay.
But as far as NPI coming back, or other contractors coming back, that's on their own, because they didn't do it right the first
Okay.
time. So minimal extra cost, but
And in the long run,
definitely
it
worthwhile.
pays off, yeah.
Yep. I do have the financial numbers in there, so we do not, for whatever reason, we don't have access to the online bank statements. I have not been able to get those. But, kind of looking at where we ended the year, we were still like 1.8, 1.9 million. So we weren't anywhere near zero or going to zero. We got our first town payment for this new fiscal year of 2 million. So, we're bumped up even more. So we are at a very comfortable spot right now as far as cash being able to pay for our expenses. And then obviously in the summer, there's a dip in payroll. We're purchasing some supplies, but, payroll is typically your biggest expense every month anyways. So those numbers are there.
So where did we land at the end of June? What was that final? Because I know we were projecting, and then we did encumbrances and that type of thing. Where did we land?
So we are still waiting for accounts payable to kind of really figure out where we're landing. And then we also we have to isolate the June payroll that was paid in July for our hourly employees, because that's a fiscal year 23 expense. But we're still expecting to land right around that 900,000 as far as under expenditures. So like right now I'm at like it's right around 900,000. So that hasn't really switched too much. We have about 72,000 that we have of accounts payable that we believe that we still need to pay. About 45,000 maybe of June payroll, and then And then we have the separation payment that was authorized as well. So once we figure out those exactly, then, but still right around 900,000. So that hasn't swayed really too much.
So will this be updated to FY '24 school board financials at our next meeting? Is that the idea, or?
It will
is this
be
continuous?
partially updated because the first, as, it's one of the policies where the financials aren't necessarily put out in July just because of the fluctuation of things.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, I'll get the cash balances for the banks in there, and I'll get some other information in there. Yep. So we'll start up again.
Start up again.
So it'll be a new spreadsheet that we'll have for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next thing is the audit questionnaire. So again, the audit occurs the last week of July, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We had the pre-audit, there's other work that we're getting to them before that, but then they're back on site for 3 days. So this is a yearly thing that the board fills out for that, which the board chair now has.
It's here, and you guys have copies of it. So we'll go through each question, and everyone needs to be, I'm the one who signs it, but your information will be on here as well, listed in the back. So, any questions before we start?
Do it.
All right. Do you, or do any of us have knowledge or suspicions of fraud affecting your entity?
No.
Have you received any communications from employees, former employees, regulators, or others alleging fraud?
Nope.
No.
Have you identified any specific risks of fraud within your entity?
No.
Has the board adopted a universal code of ethics for members and employees to follow?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, but it wasn't board approved this year.
We accepted it, but it wasn't signed by all board members. But we have a code of ethics to follow.
If yes, please furnish a copy.
Okay.
So, we've adopted it, it's just whether or not people choose to sign it. If yes, does this document prohibit elected officials from doing business with the entity?
No.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Have you or any related party of yours had any interest, direct or indirect, in any of the following transactions or pending or incomplete transactions since July 1st, 2022, to which the school district, SAU, or any retirement savings, pension, or other similar plan was or is to be a party? Sale, purchase, exchange, or leasing a property?
Hold on.
Didn't we
Yeah.
bought land,
The
right?
district.
No, but have
We haven't-
you or any
As a
related
member.
party, so have you benefited from it, or anybody that's related
You
to
or
you?
any-
benefited
had any
from it?
I didn't sell the
interest?
school anyway.
Right.
Okay,
And you didn't,
That money
we,
hasn't been spent yet anyway, so.
yeah.
so no.
But this doesn't say have you benefited. It says have you or any related party has had any interest, direct or indirect?
Right. Which I haven't
Any interest? How
It's
are we defining
asking
that?
you as a board member personally,
Yeah.
personally.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
not,
That
Or
could
it could
be
be
So
a
you
worded,
didn't,
relative.
you didn't buy my
Related
house to
party
build
could
the
be
new
a
school.
relative.
Yep.
it's pretty vaguely worded,
Yeah.
but okay.
Sale or purchase or exchange or leasing of property? No. Receiving, furnishing of goods, services, or facilities?
No?
Transfer or receipt of income or assets?
No.
We do get
A
Pension.
stipend.
a stipend.
But that's
That's-
not covered here, right? So that's what I was just reviewing. Any retirement, savings, pension, or a similar plan?
Okay.
So no.
No. Maintenance of bank balances as compensating balances for the benefit of another?
No.
No. Other transactions?
Nope.
Well, that's where you would mark yes for, I think, the stipend, right?
Let me go back to the question. Have you or any related party, indirect or direct, in any of the following transactions?
Yeah.
Which any retirement or similar plan was given to a party?
I mean, they do leave it pretty broad, so I
Yeah.
mean, it's other transactions.
Other
means-
means
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
else,
I
right?
mean, there's a lines underneath it to just say, if there's a stipend
annual
offered.
stipend, yeah.
Annual
I would say
stipend.
yes, and I would detail it up below.
Okay, so yes, I'm flipping the page. If yes, please describe below.
How much is the stipend?
It's just over like $1,100 thereabouts.
I think it was net 988.
So what amount am I writing on here, the gross or the net?
I would
You'd
write the gross.
The gross,
Gross.
yeah.
That's 1,100, right?
Approximately $1,100. It's 1,090 or 88, I don't know.
Annual stipend of approximately 1,100. Does the board have any concerns over related party transactions?
What does that mean? Related party.
Like anyone related?
To
don't.
you or other school board, or other school employees, I think, too, like anything that you think is an inside type of,
Nope.
Yeah, no.
No? Does the board formally authorize all disbursements, both vendor and payroll, prior to the release of the funds?
No.
No.
If the answer to above is no, please describe your knowledge of how disbursements are approved within the system.
Well, this is where I think we have room for improvement in our process, which we've talked about, right?
Can you be specific in detailing that, though? What would you write on the no line?
Yeah. So, if no,
We're provided with,
please describe your knowledge of how this, so the board is
Provided.
provided with manifests in advance,
as well as monthly,
as well as monthly financials for awareness of disbursements.
It's not even awareness that we don't send a check until we have
Until it's
3
signed.
signatures on that.
You don't send a check, but there were payments made without board approval,
transfers, is that what you're?
transfers and disbursements
But-
made.
talking about
Right.
like salaries that were
Yeah.
over the line that
Yeah,
was
exactly.
approved in the.
But
We
you,
approved all the checks
you
that went out.
sign the manifest showing that amount,
But I
right?
think
So,
we're talking two different things. You're talking
Yeah.
about the bills, Andrew's talking about payroll.
well, you're talking about budget.
I'm talking about authorize all disbursements, which is, in my mind, everything.
But that's what the manifest is. So the manifest is the disbursements. Every penny that leaves the school district is recorded on those manifests, and nothing goes out until we have a majority of the board signing it. Now, whether it's coming from the line that you want, there's room for cleanup, I get that. But you know every penny.
I agree that it's covered in the manifests. I think where we run into an issue this past year is what's been making it into the manifests from board signature hasn't been necessarily proper accounting in some cases for how those disbursements should be made.
And we're working to close that gap, but
But if the
I would-
question is, does the board formally authorize all disbursements, both vendor and payroll, prior to the release of the funds?
Yes.
The
Yes, it
answer
does.
is yes.
I guess it does, but I'm just, again, now I'm questioning payroll, right? Because there was an authorization of salary increases before the board even knew about it.
But it was in the manifests, in the payroll manifests that were signed.
and the board
It's just not
authorized,
something that we zeroed in on and said, okay, this amount is 5% or 3% higher than what it was the last time we
Right.
signed it.
But we authorized all the payments.
and the board authorized the superintendent to make those disbursements. I mean, you know, granted, accounting-wise, moving the money in the budget, that's the room for improvement. But we certainly, you know, it was a pool of money for raises, and I was authorized to disperse those. So we did follow that,
Stayed within the pool too.
yeah.
So-
And we didn't overspend the pool, we underspent the pool.
So
Okay.
we do formally authorize all disbursements. We'll leave it at that. Anyone have whiteout? Should I just cross it out? We'll do both.
Yeah.
Okay, describe how the board stays informed of the latest changes in the laws and regulations pertaining to the entity. NHSBA updates.
Policy committee.
Yeah. NHSBA updates, advisories, and through policy committee / superintendent and business administrator, because I think you guys keep us up to date too. Does the board review comparative reports of estimated and actual revenues and appropriations and expenditures?
Yes, monthly.
If yes, how often? All right, I said monthly written reports, verbal reports twice per month, because you do usually give us a verbal update on the first meeting of the month, and the third is when we see the documents. What procedure does the board follow when reviewing or using these reports? For example, does the board normally meet with the department heads as part of this process? Also, does the board review both the revenue and expenditure reports?
So yes on the second, clearly, right? But the first is, the business administrator.
Okay. All documents and supporting information are provided by the business administrator. Yes, the board reviews both revenue and expenditure reports. Has the board approved a disaster recovery plan in the event of loss or interruption of the IT function?
Believe so. Last year you guys said yes, so yep.
If yes, please provide a copy.
I will find a copy.
Excellent. Is there a
I don't know
written,
that I've ever seen that.
I think it's an old policy.
I believe that it's an insurance policy that we have through Primex. So we pay,
Well, insurance policy is how we get refunded.
Right, that's
In the
not a
event,
disaster
that's
recovery
not the,
plan.
that's not the DR plan.
they, so I believe they have a firm that handles all that. So if there's a data loss, Primex has a team that comes in to do that. So
Which is true.
I believe that's part of the service we provide. So it's not a private entity that we employ. It's, Primex has a team that does that specifically for schools to get payroll back up and going ASAP, I think.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm comfortable with a yes here yet.
Can
Let
we
me get some
find
more
out what we
information.
provided?
Yep.
What we provided last year?
Yep.
And send that
We haven't
around to
seen
the
it
board?
in policy.
No, not at all.
And I'm thinking that Chris,
A DR plan is a lot more than just payroll. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah, it's your server, it's everything.
everything.
yeah, but I think that's what, again, I believe Primex
I
actually
remember
does that.
approving one years ago, like Jason put one together. You don't recall?
Do you remember that as a required policy? In the-
Don't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna search it up. I have it right here.
I'm gonna keep going while you're looking.
Yeah, let me get you some more information on that. I'll talk with Chris. I'll
Is
look
there-
into Primex.
Is there a written investment policy adopted?
There's an
Yes.
emergency disaster leave policy, but that's different.
Where's that? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes, please provide a copy. When was the policy last reviewed
What
and
is a-
approved?
What is a written investment policy? Is this pertaining to like IT equipment, or is it?
No,
No, this is
investment
like
accounts.
Enough money.
funds, like make sure
Money.
we're not putting it in like stocks and stuff.
Not putting in Pete's
So-
account.
Yeah, there's a policy that was
It's not in
approved
Bitcoin right now.
6/29/2022.
is this for question 12?
6/29/2022, is that
Question
recent?
11, the
11.
written investment
Oh,
policy.
got it, thank you.
What policy is it?
It is DFA. So I will print that out as well and I'll change that.
Have you adopted the use of either debit or credit cards by employees?
We have, yep.
If yes, please provide a copy of policy covering the same.
Get that too.
Does the board have knowledge of any funds or bank accounts that are not in the custody of the treasurer?
Well, student activity funds, so it's not taxpayers' money. All taxpayers' money is under the treasurer. But that treasurer does not oversee the student activity funds.
So I'm writing yes, student activity fund, which is governed by who?
The principals.
I actually had school district credit cards, going back to our policy meeting earlier today, I had school district credit cards as a new policy and optional from NHSBA.
So
We
it's
have a
talked
policy.
about in the purchasing policy,
Okay.
credit cards. And then there is a practice that they have to sign before they get the credit card. There's a cardholder manual that
Okay.
they sign.
Okay.
Has the board approved a fund balance policy in compliance with GASB number 54?
Gatsby.
Well, it says GASB and I said it just like that. What's it called?
What does it mean?
I have no clue.
General accounting standards.
Governmental, what is it? I just saw it.
Great, amazing
General
school
Accounting
board.
Standards Board.
Yeah.
Governmental Accounting Standards Board, yeah.
Okay, so do we have a fund balance policy that is in compliance with GASB?
Fund balance policy.
I
Man.
think so.
Yeah,
Did I say
I
that
believe
right?
so. There's a fund balance policy. So that is DBB.
DBB, yeah.
I'm saying yes, and then I wrote policy DPP, which you're going to attach. Does the school district SAU have knowledge of any crowdfunding activities? If so, please indicate what they are, on what website they are maintained, and who is responsible for them.
Those would be under student activities accounts if they were like team fundraisers or things like
Well,
that. Is
the-
that considered crowdfunding
The only
or
thing that pops into my head is if individual teachers have like Fund My Classroom or
donors choose, yeah.
there
So
are,
there's an NHSBA policy for this, right? And it's policy DFGA. We as a district have not adopted that policy.
Crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding. Yep.
But do we, as a school district or SAU, have any knowledge of any crowdfunding activities? I don't have any specific knowledge.
I don't either.
I don't know, like, back to Tina's point, I don't know if there's some for sports
Right.
teams. So,
or even classrooms.
Right.
I vaguely,
I'm sure there are some teachers that have a donors choose account,
yeah. And is that considered crowdfunding?
right?
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure.
So is it fair to say the board is unaware of any specific crowdfunding activities?
I'm not aware of any crowdfunding activities. But maybe given this question, and given it's an annual question, maybe we look at DFGA
Yeah.
as part of our policy committee.
I would recommend that, that'd be good.
Answer
That'd be
from
great.
an attorney, Heidi, by
Yep.
the way.
And then I think we want to find out, explain it to people and see if people are doing it.
Yep.
Okay, and then for each board member, please provide the years of service and a brief description of their background.
I don't know if you just want to kind of pass that around. I mean, they have an example of what to put for background on there too. But I believe that's the end of it.
Are they looking for financial background or?
Whatever you do there, if you're a teacher, if you're.
I think you can sign, my recommendation is to sign it, and as the meeting progresses, we can fill that in.
Okay, sounds good.
But,
Yeah.
so you're consistently filling it out. They want,
I don't remember filling in
Professional
background
background?
before this year.
Yeah, it seems new compared to last year.
Yeah. I think it
Name,
was
years
just
of service,
name,
backgrounds, for me, it'll
names
be
and roles on the board before.
finance and accounting.
I don't want to write attorney, they're gonna come after me. All right, so signing, once we confirm, remember we need to verify number 10,
Yep.
which is the disaster recovery plan.
Okay.
All right. So I will move along. So the
Just go
next.
other way.
Well, I'm gonna go this
Can
way.
I take your blue pen? Is that all right?
Take my blue pen.
Yeah.
The next thing is a continuation. Last board meeting, we did the transfers that were necessary for the non-union raises. Again, in fiscal year '24, the union raises were all part of the contract, which were known, so there is no lump sum for union staff, both teachers and assistants. So those are exactly how they should be. You have the link now for the non-union transfers that we would need, and it's highlighted 5,000 and over as well. So this is both an awareness as well as an approval for those transfers. You can see, as you scroll down, the first thing you see is the pool of money that was allocated, and it was still a balance, which means that the pool still had money left of $3,763.55. And as you scroll down, you'll see personnel changes as people left and as people came in. So you'll see for those positions that we're paying less in fiscal year '24 than we did in fiscal year '23. So, but the transfers
Piece of paper here.
are there.
It's for you to fill out when you have a moment. Do you want me to fill it out for Liz too?
Yeah, do you know how many years she's been on the board?
No. Well, she's,
I'll ask her during, she's joining non-public.
oh,
so-
okay.
So we need to approve the transfers, right? So I'll make a motion to approve the transfers as presented.
I will second. Any questions or comments?
Again, I think, just not to rehash what we talked about, I think awareness before the transfers happen, right, would be good.
But that's the requirement, correct? So this is the same stuff we looked at last time?
Yep.
Yep.
Well, it's the same concept, but now we're in the new fiscal year. So this is the fiscal year for the pooled money in the FY '24 budget that just started.
Yep.
So this is
What
where
we
we haven't
reviewed-
paid yet, but we've committed.
You've started paying.
We've started paying it
in
through
July.
Right, what we reviewed last year was the result of what was approved in FY '23 that we just saw at the end of the year as opposed to the beginning of the year.
And contracts that were issued in, trying to think of this team, April, because maybe May, they were based on these dollar amounts. So in the future, we would expect to come forward with
This
any that
list.
we need to transfer so that you can approve those in advance.
By March, right?
Probably not March. It
April.
could be, March, April, in that window of time. We typically wait to see where the budget gets approved, so you're talking mid-March, and then by the time we actually apply these and get it done, it's end of March, early April. And then the contracts go out right around April vacation, I think, so we would have to have it approved in advance to issue it.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve the transfers. Any other questions or comments?
No.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? I think it passes 4-0.
And the last link is the transfers that have happened since last board meeting. So again, this is now part of every board meeting. These were from this year that you guys authorize again after the fact. You'll notice that some are over 5,000 as well, like that. If I could transfer, that's because that was the easiest way for Ann to transfer. It was to group it and then transfer. So that FICA, though, was made up of a bunch of people of less than 5,000.
Got it.
So you had awareness and authorize the true transfers of like individual lines of over 5,000 last time. And this is just showing how it went into the e-finance. So we'll continue to bring the transfer list as well. So there's nothing to approve on this one. This one, again, is just awareness. So that wraps up my report.
Any other questions for Doug? Seeing none, we'll move on.
What's the transfer, Doug? There's one on for June 28th of 70,000, 384,
What's it listed as?
salary transfer.
Oh. Good question.
So that's out of that big pool. So that was
That's
the,
taking the money out of the pool.
Out of the pool,
And then
and then-
reallocating it back.
Yep.
Okay,
yep, that one time out of the pool, so she didn't have to kind of grab bits and pieces each time.
okay.
No, good question.
All right, I'm just texting Liz and asking her how many years on the board. Okay, moving on to public minutes. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the June 21st, 2023 public minutes? You had
I had a
a question on something.
and it looks like she has fixed that.
Perfect. Anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes?
Just for the board, if you didn't see my comment, it was on the transfer from the general fund balance to cover the cost of the capital project fund. She had written that, the vote was 4-1-0, Mr. Cutter abstained, but Mr. Cutter voted in the negative, so it was it was a 4-1-0 vote, but there was no abstention.
Thanks for catching that.
Yeah,
And it's corrected. right?
it's corrected in the minutes, yeah. So,
Hearing no other changes, I'll make a motion to approve the June 21st, 2023 public minutes.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 4-0-0. Moving back to old business, Litchfield Educator Model of Supervision.
So the last meeting we presented, if you remember, most of the committee members were here actually that night. We presented that this is the work that we put together. I checked in with Corey as president of the association when we met last Thursday. I have not heard from anybody. It's been quiet, and he said the same thing. Crickets on his end, so our feeling is that the model is ready to be adopted. There was no additional feedback that would lead us to believe there were any problems, and we would ask the board to support this for the model going into next year.
Sounds good to me. I'll make a motion to approve the Litchfield Educator Model of Supervision.
I will second that. Any questions? Comments? It was helpful to have them here and be able to talk about the process and all the input that was received, and to
Yeah.
know that, you know, a lot of people had a lot of hands in this. And
Yeah, and having the hyperlinks to the forms really helped too. I was really able to dig deep and see what teachers will expect.
All right, all those in favor of approving the Litchfield Educator Model of Supervision, please say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 4-0-0. Moving on to the capital improvement plan, we've had this on here a couple of times, we were just updating numbers on it, are those numbers updated now?
Yeah, so we, Kayla was able to access the PDFs. The two that were updated are the cost for the new elementary school and also the cost to renovate the current elementary school. So,
Okay.
we were able to get those updated, and otherwise, I don't think we've had any feedback from the board that you want to go a different direction. It's the same plan matrix that we've been following with updated refresh numbers in those two categories.
So GMS renovations and repairs, $28,000, or I'm sorry, $28 million.
Million.
Okay.
Are we
Add a
missing
couple
zeros?
No, you're good.
28,000, let's
I'm
go.
like, wait a minute.
Don't we wish?
Right. The only other thing is we had discussed changing the priority of the LMS Fields project at our last meeting, and I
Yes, we
don't
did.
see that on the
Yeah, we bumped that
linked
up.
document. We bumped that up to a priority.
We did.
So, I'm sorry, where is that? Which line?
Number 10.
Number 10.
I do see that on the sheet, on the Excel sheet. I see it as row
Okay.
7. No, no, I apologize. You're right, I don't.
Yeah, it's not on the link that we have says it was updated 11/22. Is that right? What's the date?
Which is
11/2/22.
Yeah, I think as long as we move that up.
And you're looking at the Litchfield matrix, not the town matrix, right? So
Right,
we
I'm
don't
looking at
control
the
that one.
district matrix.
So, let me just move it now.
Okay.
So you want number 10 to go where? To,
It was underneath, I think, number 7, right?
because it stayed as necessary, but it,
Oh, it's a
No, it's
priority.
now a priority.
We bumped
Got
it
it.
up to
So
priority.
we actually moved this up together one time.
Yes,
And-
you did, at our last meeting.
Yeah, but then we moved it up in your office. So I have no idea how it got back down there. Because we did
things
follow
magically
through
happen.
with what was recommended.
But
So
the thought
I'm
was it
having
was
this vague,
tied
like,
to
I
the
thought we did
pavement
this,
parking
but-
lot.
Right.
Yeah, and we changed it to priority.
Right,
But we would do it before the parking lot.
so glad that you
yeah, it
remember.
was tied together with those
because-
two. We don't want to go through
Right. Would be the
So
same
move it up
Paving and
one more, I
doing an
think.
access road
Or
if we're gonna
was
tear it up for a
Under 7
deal.
or above 7?
It was under, well,
I mean,
it was
they're kinda
actually
together.
above 7, right? Because we were gonna do the fields, then the pavement parking lot.
That's
that
true,
right?
yeah, get all the heavy equipment in first,
Yeah.
and
They're-
then
they're-
before you repave.
They're both scheduled in the same year.
Right, so
Yeah.
it's just
but-
how it reads.
But I can
So-
certainly move the fields one higher.
So maybe change the title, update the date and the title, because now it is really truly updated, maybe?
Yeah,
The date and the title.
I got to
Yeah, it
7/12.
See what I mean?
CIP
It says
matrix
11-2.
Says 11-2,
Hang on,
yeah.
this is the wrong link. This is why, because there's
There's another copy somewhere. with
There's
the-
another copy
Yeah.
with a date more like June in it. That's why,
Yeah.
that's what we fixed, so
Okay.
hang on, let me,
So is the rest of this correct then? I guess that,
I don't think the amount for the GMS,
I'm gonna do a quick search.
I think those
'cause
amounts are the same as they were.
Shouldn't we bump those numbers up, though? I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, they should be,
Yeah, we talked about doing
Yeah,
that
this
at
is
the
the-
last meeting.
this is an old version.
This is an old version, because the land purchase, we bumped to
Okay.
complete in a way.
Yeah,
So once we find the new version, maybe we should just delete this version, because this
Yeah,
has
I agree.
gotten us before.
it's a good thing we all have our memories still, huh?
For now.
Right.
How about the 7/12/23 update?
There you
Oh,
go.
that sounds
A
like,
little
Well,
better?
I just changed the title though.
Yeah, I think you
so-
just changed it, so that's the one that we're in now.
Ah, sugar.
Yeah,
All right.
let me see if I can.
Sounds great, though.
I found it. That's how fast the Google is.
while you're looking for it, just to jump ahead into new business policy, I just wanted to report, I think Andrew probably can report it better than I did, but we had a really positive meeting today, about 2 hours that we spent going through, doing
Change the date
policy,
back
analysis. I think we have a good path forward in terms
So this
of
one,
how we're
the
gonna attack and make our policies numbers align with NHSBA. But it's gonna take some work, and the board will need to be involved at various points to approve. Just trying to fill the silence. Is there anything else you want?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a number of policies that will need to be recategorized, right, relabeled based upon NHSBA. We identified, a number of policies that NHSBA had that we didn't have, so we're doing some analysis. This is covered under another policy that we had, but just labeled something completely different, so all that work's continuing. So there will have to be, definitely some recommendations coming to the board for approval at some point soon.
But we're on our way.
We are on our way.
Thank you for doing that work. It's important and
It was tedious.
can be tedious, I was
Andrew-
just gonna say.
Andrew did a lot of it.
Yeah, thank you.
His Excel expertise shines through with this particular.
So go to the agenda and
Project.
click the link in the agenda.
Do you wanna jump down to school board goals? I mean, I think.
Does this have the new,
This is the one you and I touched.
39 million right there.
So.
And does this have the other numbers you updated?
Yeah, this is the one you and I did in the office.
Okay.
So we had put the correct date on it,
Liz says 7 years.
confounded it when you changed it.
So I'm gonna delete this old one then.
Get rid of that one.
Okay.
It's a 3-year term. What did she accept?
She came in part way. She covered,
Oh, did she?
I think, is Vicky?
Paula,
Did she
maybe.
cover Paula?
Oh,
Or was that Tara?
It's all a blur.
Sorry, so we sorted it out, we got the right document link, it had the order.
Okay.
If you double check what's the linked now,
Yes.
Looks good.
is this what you wanted? So it's got LMS fields are now under the pavement, I can move it up if you wish.
I don't think it matters, but because they're the same year, but the numbers are updated, which is important
Yeah.
Correct.
compared to the last one, so.
Yep.
So the next step, if I understand it correctly, is the capital improvement plan. That's Andrew, you're the rep
Yes.
of that. So, my notes showed that this is due July 17th, but I don't know what that means. I don't know who it's due to.
Yeah, at this point, the capital improvement plan was scheduled to meet last Monday, July 3rd. Because of the holiday, it came to be that a lot of members couldn't make that date, so the meeting got canceled. I am not aware of our next meeting being scheduled yet.
Nikki's spotted.
And so who would submit this to them?
I certainly can. I'm glad to send it to the chair and.
So it's the right link now, that would be the one the board's approved to be submitted.
And is
right?
that open access if I share the link?
I believe so, because I think we have it set so that any member of the public can see it.
Perfect.
So, let me do a double check on that.
No, Brad, we can make it, well,
So I'm gonna go back to the price for the new GMS. It's 39 million, but when Kyle was here, didn't he say it was more like $550 a foot or $500 a foot? And we have the calculation in at 325.
What's that? Oh, I think the total number we updated, but we didn't update that number.
I would agree. Is that on the worksheet,
It
Peter?
says it says $325 a square foot, and
But it also says 90,000 square
Right.
feet when it should be 80,000.
80,000.
Yeah, smaller. So the total answer, the total cost is updated.
at 39 million, but
At
it's gonna
39
be,
is
it's gonna
correct.
be more than 39 million.
Well, I think the other thing is interest is not included in this.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
It's what the bond, we go for the bond for, well, we go for the bond for less with building aid. But the cost would be 39 million, take away building aid. But say we didn't have building aid, which we do have and we're gonna get.
Yeah.
If the cost was 39 million, the bond would be 39 million, but then back with interest, the taxpayers would pay over 39 million, which is correct.
I think we should make sure we're transparent in what the real costs are gonna be.
I think we will be in the
And-
information
and
that we put forward.
In the warrant article.
Well, 80,000 square feet times 325 is 26 million.
So if you do 80,000 times, what do you say, 550, 500?
I think it was I wanna say 550, but it might have been 500, kind of in today's dollars,
That's 40
based on the
million.
inflation.
Yeah.
Times
He-
500?
He gave us the 39. That came from Kyle, that number. So-
Right, so I think then C4, we should update to match the number,
On the,
In the comment.
just
In the
in the
comment.
description.
So 80,000 at,
I don't know if I can,
no. Oh,
80,000 at
I'm sorry.
500.
You're reading column C. I thought you were doing the worksheet, Peter. I was thrown off.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
C4.
Got it.
80,000 at 500.
So do you need a motion to approve this? Presumably, or at least
It's not
to,
it's not a bad idea, because then it gives Andrew authorization to bring it forward and represent it as the will of the board.
yeah,
And Peter, when it goes forward to the capital improvement committee, and when they put it on their document, they have the total cost on it too. So they start with that 39 million, then they include interest, just like they did for the fire,
We don't
the
have a
new
total
fire department
cost.
that they're looking to do as well.
so I'll make a motion to approve the Litchfield School District Capital Planning Matrix updated as of 7/12/2023. Is that what I'm doing?
a second. Nope,
Any questions?
I couldn't remember if she
Comments?
motioned or second.
Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the matrix, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, passes 400, even though I didn't say aye, but I meant it in my head. Okay. We've moved into new business. We're discussing, the elementary school in non-public based on legal advice. Andrew and I gave a quick policy update while you guys were looking for the, updated version, so we're good there. That brings us to school board goals annual review. I think we've all seen these before. Are you looking for us to approve them again?
What I'm really looking for, just board comment that will help guide our team as we come forward with building level goals and district level goals based upon the school district goals that were set by the board. So a couple of things to highlight. This was I don't even know what it is, a 3-year document, I guess. So it expires at the end of next year. So we're gonna have to revisit and go through a process again. This replaced a previous goal document. But just be aware that you're in the final step of this. And, the admin team takes it seriously. They do take the 5 goal areas and then try to set building goals based upon what they see here. So if there's like a key thing that you want to punctuate for us, now would be the opportunity. We'll be back in August to show you what we have come up with for the goals.
Okay. So we're not amending these at this point, we're just finishing out the cycle.
Finishing out the cycle, but it's a nice reminder that this is now coming to an end at the end of the year.
Yep.
So, thank you.
And you'll notice under great teachers and great staff, I mean, it has been, it was approved, or it was updated by the board last year. And item number 2, I think we added the great staff piece in because there was feedback from some of the support staff that they felt like great teachers
Yes.
are great because they have great support staff. And yeah, it's a
true.
good point. So we wanted to make sure that we were more inclusive with that. You can see that I highlighted in our admin retreat in June, our team felt that, you know, a culture of data-informed decisions. They were like, what exactly did the board mean when they wrote that? And you can see the comment that was typed in because we thought it was a better way to phrase that. So it's really just moving the word culture around in the sentence, but,
I don't know that I see the comment.
Where is that?
oh, you don't
It's
see
under
my
2,
comment?
it's the third bullet. Foster
Oh.
a collaborative culture of data-informed decisions in all schools.
Okay.
And so we were suggesting that it say foster a positive, collaborative, and data-informed culture in all schools, as opposed to collaborative culture of data. It was just a rewording of it that the team felt better with, but
Yeah, we can do that. I'm okay with that change.
Same words,
Yeah.
just different order.
I feel like it means the same thing, but
Yep.
yeah.
But if you want to approve it as updated, we can just take care of that. Or we can finish out the year and keep that note for the next revision. It's really whatever you'd like to do.
It's
Either
fine
way.
for me, it's just how people's mind map works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with it as is,
I'll
and
make
then
a
we'll.
motion to approve the amendment.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, 400.
Now we can put a new timestamp on it
Yep.
and
Bingo.
And is there any focus area that you want to provide to me or the principals who, you know, I take care of the district component of this, they take care of the school components, but.
I think, you know, on the top, the perseverance and adaptability, integrity, communication, and critical thinking, I still come back to, I know we're making a huge effort and push, but communication, I think that,
Where's culture, right? I mean, I know you have collaborative culture, but where else is like?
positive learning culture is under number 1.
yeah.
It's like the first
Yeah,
indicator.
yeah, okay, great, thank
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I think we're on inroads to, you know, furthering these goals, and we have to just keep up the work.
Is there anything that, just as we think about this, not necessarily making a change for tonight, but anything curriculum related we should?
I think that's where the data informed decisions comes in.
Yeah,
With secondary pathways, you know, I think it goes into those are the qualities we want in our graduates. So for example, Andrew, so when I first was on the board, one of the district goals was to have, I think it was 95% of our students attending a 4-year college afterwards. And, you know, we had a lot of discussion about that because a 4-year college is not the right path for a lot of students. And for that to be stated as a district goal, it left a lot of students feeling inadequate, or, you know, we weren't meeting their needs. So we kind of took the academic achievement piece out of it because it's hard to measure.
to your point though, I mean, not that it has to do with this, but I'm looking forward to our next meeting when we have that,
Yes.
data conversation with Ms. Widman in terms of AP results and, SAT results and all of the different testing, SAS testing and whatnot, so we can kind of get a better idea of where our students are and where we need to,
Focus.
focus
So we're
and
gonna
improve.
be able to see that kind of comparison between the high honor stuff that we talked about last time to the scores.
Yeah, that's my hope.
Yeah, but we usually, excuse me, we usually see grade level
That's an
averages
Yeah.
and cohort, you know, we can follow this cohort from you know, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, how did that same group of kids do in each year, kind of thing.
And same with SATs, you can see freshmen take a
Right.
version of an SAT their freshman year in grade 9 and how they did grade 10, grade 11, and so on and so forth, just to kind of follow their progress. Again, it's one data point, but it's important to understand how we compare and where we are.
And so the map I have, just to clarify, because you said the next meeting, but on August 2nd, we'll bring the handbooks forward,
Okay.
because that'll be a first read.
Yeah.
So those are being worked on and cleaned up now. They could be approved that night, but if not, the 16th is still plenty of time to get them out. We'll have the school goals based upon this conversation. And so we'll report on last year's goals and then proposed goals going forward. I want to talk about class size just because.
Yep.
So we'll have the class size report, and food service will be here. And the high school is going to talk about diploma options. So there's been a push from the community to have diploma options being considered. And so Mary, Jake, Val, and I met Monday, I think, and talked about where they are. So we'll have some preliminary there.
Okay.
The 16th is when we'll have the annual data report, so that's the big one. That's where
Okay.
Mary's doing everything.
Good.
AP scores, SAS scores, et cetera.
Alrighty.
So all of that stuff will be presented on the 16th.
Food service is in there too.
Food service is on the 2nd.
Second, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to school board comments. We did get an email in during the course of our meeting, indicating that the agenda is not on the website. So, when you do go to the agenda, it says 2023, 2024 agenda, you click on it and it produces the calendar.
Yeah, we just learned that at the start of the meeting, and we're not sure where that link went, but we'll
So,
figure it out.
a
Yeah.
parent asked for the agenda, so if we can get that fixed, that would be helpful. Any other school board comments? Seeing none, I lost my agenda.
So I reached out to Chris with an email, and he actually already responded in regards to the question about disaster recovery plan. He said since he has been there, the board has not approved a policy, so he doesn't know of a policy. He said that the board has approved the data governance manual, which has a guide on what to do, but that guide is pretty much to connect with Primex.
Yeah.
And then what Primex does is they connect with the Atom Group, which is specialized in cybersecurity. So I don't know if you want this back and to change the answer to no. So it
Which
is,
question?
Number 10?
number 10, yeah.
That's curious.
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't remember anything.
Well,
on
the plan is to
NHSBA,
contact
honestly.
people who know what to do, but can we,
So it
do
doesn't
they
say
have a
policy, it says, has the
Plan.
board approved a disaster recovery plan?
Plan.
In the event of a loss or interruption of the IT function, so the plan is
to contact those guys?
to, which,
I don't know, that's a plan.
That's not a plan.
That's not a
no,
plan.
that's not a plan?
No. That's an action.
Would they have a plan that we could submit with this? Do they ask for us to submit it?
Yes.
Can
If
we,
yes, please
can
provide
we
a
just
copy.
dig a little deeper on exactly what Primex does? If you called Monica tomorrow and just, because I thought that a service they provided to municipalities, different than private entities, was they're the ones who do that. And I could be totally
No,
wrong.
they definitely are, but then they contract out with the Atom Group because they do it for Primex, but then other companies as well. So, I mean, I can reach out because, in full transparency, it's my brother-in-law who is the head, kind of leads up the thing in Primex for cybersecurity, and he's probably like, why doesn't Doug know the answer to this? So,
First thing you're
I should listen to more at family parties or something.
I guess my point is, we do not have a plan. Our plan is to contact Primex, and that's part of the service that we contract with.
Right.
And then if the board is not comfortable with that, but let's make sure we know exactly what it is that they do. But again, for municipalities and school districts with limited resources, that's what they do. They have the plan. They guide you through. So when this cyber attack occurred in Nashua a couple of weeks ago, I think the plan is you contact, and they literally send a team in
Yeah.
that have experience with this.
Yep.
It would be our first experience, knock on wood, it never
I'm
happened.
actually surprised there's
but-
not a policy on this from NHSBA.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I
Well,
think
there-
that's a
and there might
relevant
be,
question.
But that's not even asking about a policy. That's just
That's
saying
just
you
the
have a
plan.
plan.
I
And
agree, but in
think-
today's day and age, right?
I think our plan is to, I know our plan is to call
Right.
Chris
I
and call
think maybe to
primaries.
Heidi's point, maybe they have a plan behind it.
Right.
Right.
We just don't
And
know
our
what-
plan is we contact you and
Yeah.
then you
Yes.
institute your plan.
So if they have a plan that we can submit a copy with this, right,
There's-
because it
there's
does
a
ask for a
chance-
copy.
The reason that we don't have a plan is because the plan is always changing depending on
Right.
information.
It says, has the board approved a disaster recovery plan? So I said no. I said, however, we use Primex, who outsources to experts in the field.
I think that's
think that's-
perfect.
Yeah.
And
think
we'll do
that
more
covers
digging.
us.
You've asked a good question. We're gonna do more digging to
Yeah.
figure out, if it happens, what exactly is done after we execute our plan of calling them.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Any other school board comments? Seeing none, manifest is complete. Were there any questions on
Do
the
we have a
manifest?
manifest? I haven't seen
Yep,
it.
we signed it.
We are, all
Got
three of
here.
us signed it, so we skipped
We're
you.
very quick.
Would you like it?
Would you like the
I
manifest?
mean, no, I mean, did it reconcile to what Ann sent across?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Manifest is done. Community input.
Still no one, huh?
Negative ghostwriter. Okay, moving on, closing community input. We will then go into a non-public session pursuant to RSA 91A3. We will finish up our non-public session that we had started earlier. This would be due to B, the hiring of any person as a public employee, and C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member or body of the agency unless such person requests an open meeting. So I will make a motion to go into non-public session,
Second.
and that has been seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Little delayed. Opposed, abstained, passes 400. So we are heading into a non-public session. Our next meeting, public meeting will be August 2nd, 2023. I will be remote for that meeting, so Liz, will be chairing it here. I think it's easier to have the chair in the room rather than online, but I will be present, remotely for that meeting. And otherwise, I hope you all have a good night. And it's 7:20, just saying.
That's how it's done.
7:20.